Hello and welcome to Game Soup with Chloe and Kayla. This is a game design podcast where we throw ideas in a pot and see what's cooking. I'm Kayla. How are you doing this week, Chloe?
I'm good. I have done no game design work, honestly. I think I thought about vampires once and I was like, did I just make Vampire the Masquerade again? And it's possible I did. So
Many such cases. Yeah, what was your thing with vampires at all? Was it just...
It was like, what if Goblin Country, but you play as vampires, and the masquerade is coming to get you because you keep breaking into people's houses, and it's like you have to ask for their permission instead.
I feel there would actually be something very interesting in a vampire B.O.B. game.
Yeah.
This one where I'm like, oh yeah, that would be really interesting. I'd be really interested in reading it. I don't know if I personally have a unique enough take, or not even unique enough, or an interesting enough angle that makes vampires feel novel to me, given that vampires are around a lot in the world. You know, you can barely walk through streets without running into one. No, but you get what I mean there. Like, I feel... It's interesting, because I talked before about... Oh, wait, no, you go finish for your thought.
I could think of building some sort of metaphor about how you as a vampire want to be you and you want to be your version of a vampire, but then the higher ups, the I'm just going to go the Masquerade, wants you to be their very specific definition of a vampire, and it's about assimilation and being a happy gay vampire.
Have you seen Sinners yet?
No.
Babes, you gotta see Sinners. It's not super relevant to this, but I was thinking about vampires here, because I do think Sinners, the film, does some really interesting stuff with vampires. Not necessarily in the vein we're talking about, because the vampire is very much the villain there, but also I think, there's lots of angles if you're doing, like, allegorical, or at least, like, focusing on something specifically you can take with vampires. Like, 1,000-Year-Old Vampire is a lot about memory. If you're wanting to really invest in blood-sucking as a core focus, that becomes about different things.
Yeah.
You know, but it's weird. I remember on this podcast a lot, we've come up with vaguely loose superhero ideas, and then I've been like, but I don't want to do a superhero game. Which I mainly say is like, oh, I feel it's like superhero fatigue. But I think I've realized from selling Nemesis Retribution, which is like a half superhero game. It's not exclusively, because like three of the scenarios are very much not. One is more DuckTales, one's more Star Wars, one's like a mech thing. But three are very much in a sort of superhero tokusatsu vein. And I've just realized, oh yeah, no one brings up superhero fatigue at all. And I was realizing it's like, yeah, because superhero fatigue isn't in TTRPGs. Like, there are plenty of superhero things. Many are well liked, like masks, and anyone can wear the mask of the two that come to mind. Others I know are popular. Some of the licensed ones I know people are often like, but also I don't think there's a market dominance of superhero TTRPGs, and it's often a thing people look at as a bit specific angles on it are very unsolved. And I feel, conversely, I'm like, I do feel there's maybe a bit of vampire fatigue in TTRPGs, which I think is because of the prevalence in the scene of homosexuals.
Well, look, me and Biscuit Fun Games, we have the lock on playing as the bad guy, but you are funny and good. So I think
I'd be very interested in seeing your take on vampires.
Yeah, Alyssa's doing a thing that is like zombie country, undead country, like on her breaks at work. So I've not seen the full text yet, but there's definitely
that also
something.
Sounds cool. That reminds me of stuff like Warm Bodies with Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly, but I like doing zombie sympathetically, specifically because they're a thing that is thought of as brainless, and there's all fun angles you can do with that.
I think Alyssa's doing a thing where it's like you have ghosts, you have skeletons, you have zombies, whatever. It's just all sorts of
goblin ghoul zombie. Wait, are you trying to do all of you? Are you making a game for all of the things Jay-Z mentions in his Monsterverse.
What? I've never heard this.
Actually, you've heard the song Monster, right?
Yeah, with the
My
Nicki
famously
Minaj verse and
cancelled artist
nothing
Kanye
else.
West. Yeah. Oh, okay, no, I forgot the order of them. Because Jay-Z's verse is really bad, he just lists a bunch of monsters. It's Sasquatch, Godzilla, King Kong, Loch Ness, Goblin, Ghoul, a zombie with no conscience. And then I was thinking, like, I was like, oh, Goblin, Ghoul, but I'm like, you don't have Sasquatch, and you'd get sued for Godzilla or King Kong. I think
I'm not from the Pacific Northwest enough to do a Sasquatch game. Or a Bigfoot game.
So you could do a Bigfoot game, and I feel at that point you're in the clear.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's almost like about the urban legend of it, not... Is Sasquatch, like, got a different lineage than Bigfoot? Like, is that a term that comes from...
I think it's Mexican.
Indigenous
as opposed
cultures?
To, like...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I have never done any reading on sort of Sasquatch. And even though, like, Swamp Creature started its life as a sort of, I'll do all the playbooks will be cryptids. And there's an interesting thing where I feel there's like a fragments of the writing process and me figuring out the game as it went. Because like partway through I ended up focusing it more in the realm of like English folklore. That's why you have like the Will-O-Wisps.
Yeah.
It's what eventually led to like The Witch. But like it means earlier playbooks are a bit more cryptids where it's like, well, these aren't English cryptids or English like folklore things at all. Like there's the skunk ape, which is I think a specific region in part of America. And like also like the lizard folk is about like lizard men cryptid stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, that's not it's fine.
Yeah, these are
it's all like swampy stuff. But it's like it's an interesting thing. I almost think of it as like a fragment of the writing process that you see me partway through
working it out
into what the playbooks are. And all of the other ones are good. It just creates this interesting dissonance where it's like there's a cryptid where it's like, well, this has no place here, but also like this isn't a real world, so it works fine. But despite that, I was going to say I've not done much reading on Sasquatch. The main stuff I know about Bigfoot is occasionally having like watched or listened to things about like Bigfoot hoaxes, which are interesting. I will tell you an anecdote I heard about like a guy who was actually no, I'll just say this on the podcast because it's funny and I'm also like, oh fuck, maybe there's a game in this concept we could think about. It's a game where you have to be playing, I feel, a bad person, which I feel sometimes it's the point of it as being an awful guy. I feel it's because it was a noteworthy like someone who was dedicated to investing loads of money and trying to find the Yeti. And there's a like popular theory that based on like the regions he was in looking for the Yeti in, and based on like a relationship he had with the American government and stuff, people were like, oh, we think this like this sort of rich eccentric going into different countries is actually a CIA asset. And it's just like essentially it's not even the cover story, but it's like way for like shifting weapons and stuff. There's maybe a game in that you being like a fake cryptid hunter who is having to do like who is just actually there for an awful purpose. Destabilizing
you're there
the
to assassinate a prime minister, but you have to also do a TV show where you're hunting ghosts.
I feel, let's maybe just like I throw that idea into the ether, and then if we have time at the end of the episode, we go, do we have any more thoughts on that? Because we have some attacks to witness.
Yes.
That sounds so
bad. We've got our second batch of attack podcasts from UKGE, and I got some very good ones I think you'll find. So we'll go to our Discord and we'll click play on the first one, which I believe is the fifth one down.
We're live at UKGE. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jay Dragon, lead game designer at Possum Creek and editorial director at Steve Jackson Games.
And what are you doing at UKGE?
I'm fucking around mostly.
What is your one-word prompt?
My one-word prompt is extinguisher.
Extinguisher. Thank you very much, honey.
Fucking around mostly. A great reason to be an Eddie card.
Yeah.
Extinguisher is a good word.
Yes, I have a story to tell about Jay at UKGE. So yeah, on the second day of the con, I finally found Jay, and we went for lunch together. And they were like, "Oh, so what games have you been playing recently? Is there like anything that you're pulling from at the minute?" And I'm like, "Disney Speedstorm. I've been playing a lot of Palia, the farming game." And they're like, "Not what I was thinking, Chloe, but okay."
You just instantly went for video games.
What am I meant to say? The only Tata Pigs I've played in the last month are like Dungeons and Dragons. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess at that point you just sort of say the thing of, I've not managed to be playing much lately. Like, I'm out of playing a bit at the moment, which is not awfully out of playing, but just I've still been very tired and busy, and I'm gonna have to move. But hopefully then, once I've moved, I could have a living room again. I could have people over. I could remember who people are. Should we go to the next word to see what's being extinguished?
Well, live at UKGE, please introduce yourself.
Hi there, I'm Grant Howard from Rowan, Rook and Deckard.
And what are you selling today?
Books! Hundreds of books. Spire, Heart, Big Gay Orcs, Orkborg, Tartarus Gate, Void Heart Symphony. So many wonderful books.
And what is your one-word prompt?
Pancakes.
Pancakes, thank you very much.
I see someone forgot to ask people not to be doing food. Or was you just getting this later? No, we didn't say we were telling people not to do food. You said you were doing it at a non-lunch time.
I mean, I'd said it to some people, like, oh, I'm trying to do it earlier in the day because when we did it at like close down, everyone was just talking about food. And I probably did say that to Grant, and he still went with food. But
I think at that point you've told him, don't think of pink elephants, don't think of pink pancakes.
Exactly.
Extinguisher and pancakes. Well, I feel like this is immediately coming to mind a cooking game.
Yeah. I think you're running a diner and you have to be getting everybody's orders. Like, I think there's some sort of timing element. I'm trying to not make it Diner Dash, the video game, but...
Well, actually, now what I've thought is, maybe we go a different angle. Is this a game you play where play or prep involves making pancakes?
Go on.
Well, I'd still need to think about the angle here of extinguisher. And I feel like usually when we've sometimes pitched before, like, what if something involves making food as part of it? And it often leads to me going to some kind of, like, magic spell, because that feels like a thing. But, I don't know, maybe, maybe you go for this as almost, a comedy game. And that's why, like, the pancake thing almost gets to be fun. Ooh, pancakes, actually, now I'm thinking. You get a big mix, and then every time, like, there's certain actions, like, the actions involve, like, summoning things. And then the way you do that is you have to try and paint an accurate representation of that shape with a pancake.
With the pancake batter, yeah.
Yeah, and like the other players, I feel it's probably GM in this sense, because like I think the other players get to judge how accurate that is, and like there's like a tally mark, like, oh, perfect, close enough, not quite, and like horrific orb, and then like everything gets summoned. It's just like, oh man, you really didn't make that giraffe who would have helped us get the bananas down from the tree that's sprung out of the town fountain. But, like, now a rampaging orb of flesh is coming. And I feel you are... And so Extinguisher comes in that, like, maybe, like, the... Okay, this is actually not very stupid. The way to then extinguish things gone out of control is you essentially get, like, a number of bites, and it's really like, oh, how few bites can you get a pancake gone in?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to be like, oh, you get a number of bites, and then if you can like use your bites to make it shaped like something else.
Ooh, that's maybe even funner. I think, actually, yeah, because you were extinguishing pieces. You're the extinguishers.
Yes.
Because you're competitive. Like, yeah, I think maybe it's called, like, something like, igniter/extinguisher. Like, because you're both of those things. You're both summoning things and then trying to deal with rampages or deal with them. Yeah, it's like maybe you roll, like, even just a D3, like, as in a D6 divided, you know. And there's, like, you get, you know, up to 3 bites. They can be used either to try and fix a shape, or turn the shape into something else. Or occasionally it's a thing where it's like, well, I just want to stop what the other person's doing.
Totally erase
I'm biting the head off of, or I'm eating the eye out of the Cyclops. Now the Cyclops is blind. Like, you get that sort of thing.
Yeah. I think it's about, like, dueling. Like, I'm getting sort of a super villain vibe. Like, I've created the Pancakeinator, which creates monsters, and the heroes have to work out how to defeat them by eating them.
Oh, I thought you were about to say we're competitive supervillains.
That too.
Like, with the angle of, like, yeah, you all have these sort of powers of summoning abominations or something. Maybe then you also have some abilities where you get to, like, add things to the... Like, if you add some chocolate chips in, or some stuff
spikes
to your
or whatever, and...
Yeah, but, well, maybe, you know, potentially, like, if on a bite that's going to spill out, it acts as blood or something. This is fun. This is goofy.
Yeah.
Would you play this?
I think it's a fun one-pager.
Yeah, I'd say, like, yeah, maybe even a pamphlet, just because I feel like, there probably would be a lot of, like, fate turn order rules or stuff, but yeah, it wouldn't be long. Still think I'd find it interesting to read. I feel my gut on playing this sounds messy.
Yeah, I think it would involve a lot of eggs and be kind of expensive to run compared to most RPGs.
I don't think it would involve that. How many eggs are you making a pancake mix out of?
I mean, for the 3 of us I was going to say on St. Pancakes Day there. On a St. Pancakes Day, that might be the name of the game. It's about, 2 or 3 eggs, so it's like, that makes about 6 pancakes. So, how long are these games going?
I'd say for the purposes of this game, you don't need to make full-size pancakes each time. Like, if anything, that's probably going to make your job harder to draw a horse in pancake mix. I don't know why I keep saying horse or stuff, but, you know.
Yeah.
If you're trying to draw the shape of a man, that's easier if you do it small. So I think one mix would stretch further than you think for the purpose of the game, where it's not just making things. I do think probably, actually, I wouldn't play this game with adult friends, but if I was babysitting, like,
this is a
10-year-olds,
kids improv game sort of thing. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's not even. I wouldn't even describe it as, like, almost like it is, I guess, a TTRPG, or I don't know, but like a semi-tactile story game that's maybe best suited for, like, someone facilitating an all ages group. Not an all ages group, someone facilitating, like, a group of kids. But I like that Extinguisher Igniter or Panchaos. Panchaos. Yeah, I just wonder if that sounds like pansexual chaos. But
what?
Panchaos.
What does that have to do with pansexuality?
Because pan is often people would just shorten pansexuality to just pan. Like, if I named a game By Chaos, you might think, and I actually meant it as bye, bye-bye, it would be an understandable confusion to go if you're only hearing it aloud. And in this case, the words are spelt the same. I do not think. I think some people will get. I think you're trying to spin this like I.
Thank you for listening to Game Soup, Kayla.
No, we have 2 more to do. We have 2 more to do.
Let's go to the next one then.
We're live at UKGE. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Theo, and I work at Tritex Games.
Tell us about it.
It is a board game store. We are based in Stafford. We have all of your board game needs. We have card games, TCG accessories, playmats, everything a gamer could need, including dice, miniatures, and our famous mug of dice is back again.
Fabulous. And what is your one-word prompt, honey?
I would say... dice.
Dice? Fabulous. Thank you very much, honey.
Dice. Good work.
I love
good strong
Theo.
name.
I went to uni with him.
Oh my god, that's so cool. I just thought you were like, visiting some shops, seeing who was around. Oh, that's nice.
No, UKGE is the only time I ever see Theo. So, because
I didn't this year, but the last 2 years of UKGE, I ran into someone I lived with. Nearly a decade ago now, because it was 2016 we lived together.
Jeez.
I guess a couple of months into 2017. But we lived together for maybe about 6 months, and then he moved out to, I believe at the time he was moving to work to Asmodee, or maybe it was, maybe he did that after at some point. And he still sort of works and gives his at least last episode, because last year ran into him around one of the TCG stores, and then on the train back. And the year before that, we just sort of caught each other at the con. I don't know. It's kind of fun when you see people from entirely different parts of your life at a convention.
Yeah.
Not always fun, but sometimes it's fun. Gonna go to the next one.
Yeah.
We are live at UKGE 2025. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Edward, and I'm from the Wayward Adventurers Guild.
And what are you showing off here today?
So we are selling our quests today. They are open-ended, completely system-agnostic ideas generators for any form of creative output you want. Drawing or writing or characters in games.
Fabulous. And what is your one-word prompt?
Dinner.
Dinner. Thank you very much, honey.
Thank you.
Dice dinner.
I swear I'm not setting these people up to say food words.
It's the nature of the con. Dinner is a different word then. So dice dinner, traditionally, and by traditionally I mean virtually every day, involves either potato waffles or some kind of potato smileys, just some sort of, baked carbohydrate. Then you'd have Linda McCartney sausages and some kind of sandwich, and by sandwich I do just mean butter and marmite on 2 slices of bread. You might have that twice, and you can have that 2 times a day. And that is the Kayla Dice dinner. And you kind of just never need to eat anything else. And you'll be fine.
Thank you for listening to this. No.
Oh, come on. We could do dice dinner.
Okay.
I just thought that was a funny joke about what I eat,
joke.
which is not much.
It's not much, no. I'm thinking there could be
You
supplements.
sounded scared of it. I think you are scared of how little I eat.
Yes, I think there could be supplements that are the different vitamins that you actually need for your body.
I've had all my vitamins checked. I'm so good on a nutritional mix, which I'm aware sounds impossible, but it's honestly true. I'm getting everything I need. The problems with my body are nothing to do with this. But dice dinner,
it's a game about trying to find the most palatable dice in your local game shop, and then you have to go to your next play session and try to convince other people that, yes, actually, I have the most edible looking dice. And you have to compare them to each other's dice. It's like, mine are kind of yellow and a little bit rounded on the edge. They look like a little bit of cheese.
I feel maybe what you're pitching here is a single business card where it just gives some suggestion for having this argument. And then it's just a pre-session, not even a game, a pre-session activity you can do while waiting for the last person to show up. And you can get a bonus in whatever game you're playing. You get an extra round of rations if it's your dice are the best dinner. My mind immediately went to say, this is about rolling for... this is maybe about, I was about to say, maybe it's about pping food while you're in an adventure, and then I'm I'm just pitching you to rewrite No Picnics in the Dungeon.
Yeah, completed it, mate.
But I guess here I was wondering if it's more a scavenging game in some kind of fantasy environment would make sense. What if the cooking mini game from Breath of the Wild was all the game was? Maybe it's actually maybe it's a game about being the fucking cooking staff of this noble hero. But also I think maybe there's a thing where, like, you know, very early on, like, the hero... Maybe there's a thing about, like, the hero being useless and you as cooks really having to, like, try and, like, cover the back of them while also keeping them fed and stuff.
Yeah, I think, like, they do not do enough damage, so you need to, like, be making potions and shit that makes them stronger.
I feel this is maybe a game that fully leans into the fact that, like, food is the healing or boosts or stuff. Like, that's, your chef are just, like, I'd say your magic, but they're also like, oh no, like, all food can do that. Like, this is a world where medicine is a very specialist skill because 99% of things can be fixed by the right food. And you are really having to, like, try and, like, be doing, like, performance enhancing work on this hero to get to do it. And occasionally it's going to be things like, no, this is impossible. You need to kind of, like give him some very filling food that's gonna let the hero go to sleep and then just try and move on the party past this obstacle.
I think you have, like, stuff like little mini games, sort of micro game, like actions for, like, it works for chopping vegetables and stuff, but it's also you swinging your knife at a monster.
Yeah, I actually like this because I was thinking about this and now I'm like, oh, I think so the GM of this game plays the hero. Or the hero is dicely generated. But I love the idea of them. It's like, oh, it's almost this flipping of this stereotypical dynamic of, like, the GM having, you know, ideas and the heroes going off and doing their own thing of, like, yeah, now the players have to deal with a hero who is not really cooperating or doing sensible things. And they have to deal with that as just chefs who are just trying to give them the right thing. I think, yeah, you could get maybe a sort of fun, small zine out of this, or if you did more setting work and, like, came up with more about this weird setting or something, you could maybe expand it in a more interesting way, where I guess at that point it's really just, like, digging into the idea of, like, what if food was medicine?
Yeah, I can see a world
like, how
where
does this work?
A 200-page book version of this has a bunch of different recipes, and it's like, oh, you need to cut up the spice sprouts, and...
Oh yeah, this is definitely the kind of book you could, as we've talked about before, just pad out by adding in a cookbook section. This is also, now I go down this direction, the kind of book that would be, as mentioned when we discussed what a dice dinner is, terrible for me to make.
That's why you bring in consultants.
They're saying that. Do you know how the creator of Delicious in Dungeon, whose name I'm blanking on, is a very fussy eater? She's just like,
yes, that's why they made it. Yeah,
so maybe I need to do that. I think, like, the sports game I've been talking about before kind of has that same thing of, like, sports game made by someone who's not gonna play football anytime soon.
Yeah, Tournament Like was kind
of, and it's got the
it.
fantasy thing. I do think for Asphodel FC, it's kind of like, yeah, I think this wants to be to football what Delicious in Dungeon is for food. Thanks for listening. Oh, wait. Before I go, I should say, it might be up by today, so it might not be, but I'm going to put up a Kickstarter pre-launch page for a new collection I'm going to try and do called I'm with the Damned and Other Games. I'm still sort of feeling out the process because, like I said, I'm going to have to move at some point. I don't really want to do that while moving, but maybe that also is kind of solved or banked anyway. It's like I'm just considering to maybe raise some funds for getting a power assist thing for my wheelchair.
Yeah.
But there should be a pre-launch page up for a cool new, what I'm calling a mixtape of tabletop games, all played with tarot and music, and that should be up. And now,
if it's up, Chloe, it's in the description.
Do you want to say it together?
Thank you for listening to Game Soup.
Thank you for listening to Game Soup.